even worse oppression if further projects of controlling nature were to succeed. One of the great adventures in biology today is to be able genetically to enhance, through genetic engineering, human capabilities. Now we're genetically enhancing mice, or genetically harming mice by giving them genetically cancer. But we also try to genetically improve mouse intelligence with the goal of being able to improve human mathematical ability, attention span, stamina, linguistic ability, any number of abilities, better looks. If this way of looking at things is correct, this 5-part pattern, what this will do is create new jeopardy. Now, I believe that the jeopardy will be that those who are able to use this technology, in the first place, will use this technology not to genetically enhance people to make better poets or better stand-up comics. I don't think so. They'll use these abilities to genetically enhance people to have more power over people through greater understanding of technology, greater stamina, and perhaps a better personal presentation. And if parents had to choose, do I want my child to be mellow, a mellow poet, a dreaming philosopher, or a sharp businessman or scientist or mathematician, we'll go with the sharp businessman, scientist, or politician. And then the elite would say, well, just as they now, in places where we don't have universal university education, should we provide this for everyone? I want my child to succeed. Well, it will be easier. Instead of having special educational advantages for your child, you will also be able to have special genetic advantages for your child and justify the superiority of your group, genetic superiority now. That would justify denying the same to others because, of course, it's too expensive. Creating a genetic difference between people could be a new kind of racism. But we don't have to go with hypothetical examples to see that about the greatest power we now have over nature is with nuclear technology. If the 5-part pattern is correct, then this greatest power over nature should be one of the greatest sources of human oppression. And it is. It is the justification for the current war in Iraq, for example. It is the justification for concern about Iran at the moment. But it is so pervasive that some of the jeopardy isn't even noticed. The jeopardy to people living near uranium mines, for example, and the cancers that they have. Uranium mining doesn't take place, I bet, no matter what's in these mountains, doesn't take place near Heidelberg, and it won't. There could be great uranium under Heidelberg. They're never going to expose you to it. China doesn't expose most Chinese to uranium mining. They do it in Tibet. India does it where indigenous people live. Canada does it where indigenous people live. The United States does it where indigenous people live. It seems not to be an accident. So there is a form of oppression that's so great that it's not even in most people's consciousness. Well, if that 5-part pattern is correct, there is a down-down or lose-lose, but also a win-win. From where we are, well, this is pursuing more power is a lose-lose on this scheme. One example of that I just want to touch on briefly is part 3. And if people are interested in that, then we can talk about that more in discussion. Part 3 is just one other example, like the nuclear power or the genetic engineering. It's related to the genetic engineering, or the computers. And that has to do with medical experimentation on animals. This is done in the spirit of power over nature. Since animals don't matter very much, we should use them as literal and figurative guinea pigs to test medications to show if they're safe for human beings. This is in that follows the 5-part pattern. We're separate from nature. We're seeking power. We're going to specialize into medical areas, but it increases jeopardy, and let me explain how. That it's actually the discounting of animals, not caring about the experimental animals for themselves, has a problem. The idea, that's why I have a 3 up here, because this corresponds to number 3 over here. The idea is that I'm talking about medications that have to be, that the entire organism reacts to, whether it's injected or swallowed. The idea is, give it to the animals. If it hurts the animals, probably it would hurt people. So we'll never develop that medication. If it helps animals, then, we'll give it to people. It helps people. It's 1 and 2 that people have in mind. But there are 2 other possibilities here. What if it helps animals and it hurts people? Thalidomide is one of the classic examples in this category. What if it hurts animals, but it would help people if we gave it to them? One of the classic examples of this is penicillin. If penicillin had been tried on the normal variety of experimental animals, it would never have been given to people. I think the same is true of aspirin. People and animals all species are different from one another. And toxic reactions can be species specific. In fact, they can be even more specific than that within the species, as some of us are allergic to things that others of us are not allergic to within the human species. The whole idea of putting Weedkiller on your lawn because you want grass instead of broadleaf plants, which are perfectly innocent plants, but they don't look right, so you kill them. The fact that it's not toxic to one species but is toxic to another is useful if you're trying to grow that kind of grass. Well, that makes you realize that the fact that something works or doesn't work with animals may not tell you very much about its working or not working with people. In defense of animal experimentation, I have heard it said, well, we experiment with animals and now we have longer life expectancy. Of course, the life expectancy became longer independently of